Hey everybody, welcome back to New World News. I am Casey here at the channel, and it is Sunday, December 6th, 2020, and I thought it's been a little bit since I've given you guys a video. I apologize. I'll stay on top of it. Those of you that don't know, we're in the middle of a move. We're selling our house. We've got to be out of this house in a little more than a week and a half, and so it's been crazy. The recording time has just been down to a minimum between the move and running my business, so I'll get you guys as much content as possible. Let's update where we are here on December 6th. Currently with the presidential election first, then we'll talk about the coronavirus, some lockdowns, and some other news. So number one is that the late breaking story is that Donald Trump is in Georgia. He's rallying for the Senate runoffs. There's two senator runoffs in the state of Georgia in January. So he's trying to get those two Republican seats so that the Republicans can hold the majority. Of course, one of the staff, young staff members, 20 years old, was killed in an automobile accident down in Georgia. So the President, Donald Trump, he expressed his condolences there. And you can look those stories up. I'll link as many stories as I possibly can, as I always do in these videos, down below. So when you're done watching this video, you can check those out. So he's also down there looking into obvious election frauds. There was a video that dropped, and I'll show some screenshots from it, and I'll link it again below, from the poll workers, the ballot counters in Georgia, who late at night had rolled in some suitcases that appear to be full of ballots. And then, of course, we all know what happened in the hours as it turned into late night into early morning, that midnight, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning hours, that all of a sudden Joe Biden's vote count skyrocketed. He went from being down 6 figures and the hundreds of thousands of votes to being up. And so that all happened overnight. And of course, these ballots were rolled in at nighttime in suitcases, placed under a desk, and then were counted later after the Republicans had been removed or after they had left. The people that were watching over the count for the Republicans, that is, I should say. And so just diving deeper into this fraud, what happens now is anybody's guess. So Donald Trump, people are going to say he's had lawsuits thrown out of the lower courts, which is correct. George W. Bush in 2000 versus Al Gore had court cases thrown out of lower courts until he eventually, made it up to the top courts and was able to get it overturned in his favor. And of course, we know what happened there. He won the presidency. Eventually, this is going to make its way to the Supreme Court. I have no doubt in my mind. The time frame, I don't know. We're already at December 6th, so we're coming down to the wire here. I mean, before Christmas, just 19, tomorrow will be 18 days. So something's got to happen either this week or next week in terms of court cases or evidence or overturning this or getting to the Supreme Court. Of course, Donald Trump has the majority in the Supreme Court, but that doesn't always guarantee anything. He will have to present a case and evidence, which it looks like they have hundreds of witnesses and evidence. And at the very least, even if there wasn't widespread fraud, and there was some fraud, and it's enough to make a difference or not make a difference, it's got to be looked into. We have to have fair elections, right? And this isn't a channel for me to give you my political leanings. It's just a channel to put out the facts. If even one vote was voted fraudulently or cast fraudulently, that's one too many, right? We have to have fair elections, no matter who wins. And the Democrats started off by saying there's no fraud, there's no fraud. And so now Donald Trump has to present the evidence. It looks like he is. And now the Democrats are saying, well, there wasn't enough fraud to overturn it. What do you mean not enough fraud? Is 100 too much fraud? Is 1,000? Because if there's 100 fraudulent ones that we catch right now, how many were there actually? We don't know. So I want to see all the evidence and facts presented in front of me. The problem with today's world is that no matter how much evidence you have, it just seems to be that the other side is just going to strike it down. That video was doctored. That photo was photoshopped. It doesn't matter because there's so many ways to manipulate facts and evidence and photos and videos. We don't know what's going to happen. It may come down to the Supreme Court. We'll have to wait and see. So we'll, of course, update you guys as we get there. So the newest late breaking news in just the last hour that's broke is that Donald Trump's personal lawyer, former mayor of New York City, Rudy Giuliana, has tested positive for coronavirus. Here's my thoughts, guys, and this is just all I can say. Everyone's going to get it, or mostly everyone. It's almost impossible to stop. There's no amount of Ninja Turtle bandanas that are going to stop it. And I know people are saying, well, you also have to wash your hands and social distance. Even doing all of that, which, look, back in February and March, nobody did any of that. It was just beginning. And ever since then, as more and more people have taken on that responsibility and role to do all of these safety protocols, the numbers have just continued to rise and rise and rise and rise. They just simply don't work because it's a virus, and it's obviously a contagious virus, and everyone's going to test positive for it that has any sort of interaction with anyone. The only way to not really test positive for it and not get it is if you lock yourself down in your house. Now, let me preface that by saying we should not lock this country down. It is absolutely a mistake to lock this country down, in my opinion, which will lead me in my next topic and that we'll discuss in a second. But I can't imagine, a country where we locked down for what, like 2 or 3 weeks, but people were still out and about and there were still numbers going up, but it kind of, it went up and then it kind of plateaued. It wasn't the mask that made it plateau. It was the fact that people were locked in their house, not leaving or seeing anyone for 3 straight weeks, 4 weeks. We couldn't even go to a restaurant. We couldn't eat outside. We had to order it and they'd leave it on the curb for us. There's a lot of stuff. So that's the only way. If no one has any contact, then yeah, look at the NBA. They did the bubble in the NHL, doing the bubble where no one left. They were locked in that building, straight from the arena, straight to the ice and straight back. That's why, and even one person I think still got it. But other than that, if you can't go outside the walls, you're just not going to prevent it. And so that comes down to the option of, okay, let's do the lockdowns. Well, that crushes an economy, and then you have a whole other set of problems. So what do you take the lesser of two evils? Well, somebody will always say people dying is the better thing to stop as opposed to people losing their business. If we have to take a choice of death or losing the business, well, they're always going to vote to lose the business. But we have to be very careful with that because that loss of business can cause suicides, mental health problems. There's other ramifications down the road for that. So it's a no-win situation, honestly. It's no-win. So speaking of the lockdowns, LA County, Los Angeles, California, the San Francisco Bay Area, the governor, Gavin Newsom, who has been caught multiple times with no mask, going out to parties, banning indoor dining, and then eating at a $400 a night restaurant, French Laundry. I'll link the story. Screenshots as usual. He has now separated the state of California into 5 territories. You'll see it. And I'll bring this up for the rest of you watching this. So basically, they're going to label these regions with levels of risk. And so the COVID-19 by regions, you have the Northern California region, which is Del Norte, Glen, Humboldt, Lake, Laysan, Mendocino, Modoc, Shasta, Siskiyou, Tahami, and Trinity. Those are the counties, and that's obviously way up north. That's in weed country. You've got the greater Sacramento area, which would cover Sacramento, Nevada, Placer, Plumas, Sierra, Sutter, Yolo, Yuba, Colusa, El Dorado, Alpine, Amador, pretty much kind of northeasterly. And then you have your San Joaquin, which is Calveras, Fresno, Kern, Kings, Madeira, Mariposa, Merced, San Benito, San Joaquin, Stanislaus, Tulare, and Tulum, which is kind of right directly in the middle of the whole state. You have the Bay Area, which is 8.5 million. The biggest one, I believe, besides Southern California, the Bay Area would be second. Alameda, Contra Costa, Marion, Monterey, Napa, San Francisco, San Mateo, Santa Clara, Santa Cruz, Solano, and Sonoma. So obviously the big Bay Area, the wine country, 8.5 million residents. And then Southern California with 23.1 million residents is the obvious Imperial, Inyo, Los Angeles, Mono, Orange, Riverside, San Bernardino, San Diego, San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, and Ventura counties. So that's all of the beach, all the way down the Pacific Coast Highway, all the way up and around. Now, they will give them risk levels of ICU capacities, less than 15%. So if the ICUs have less than 15% availability, they will issue a stay-at-home order. That stay-at-home order actually hit today. It started, they started the warning at noon yesterday, and now I believe it was midnight last night or noon today or midnight tonight. I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to read through that story again. There was a couple different discrepancies on the time. But anyways, as of official today, it would go in effect Saturday at noon, and the cutoff would be 3 a.m. So 1 p.m. 12 a.m. or 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern time was the start yesterday, and that it had to be, there would be a 48-hour grace period. Some people said 24-hour grace period, which would have been today, which is already past due. So everything is slowed down. They cannot go out pretty much at all. Let me read you the restrictions that would be put in place and are or have been put in place. So they had Thursday the highest daily case count after he put it into the regions. He said it's going to be a 3-week. Retail will still be allowed at 20%. Bars, wineries, personal service business, hair salons, barbershops are to be closed 100%. Schools with waivers can stay open with critical infrastructure. Restaurants will be limited to takeout and delivery service only. All non-essential travel suspended. Travel of any kind. Get in your car and drive. You can't drive anymore. But Gavin Newsom can go to a $400 a night dinner, $400 a plate dinner at French Laundry. Saying there's a light at the end of the tunnel. This is the final surge in this pandemic. We do not anticipate having to do this again. The governor also recognizes the state has not yet begun to see the surge from Thanksgiving travel. On Wednesday, the state's COVID-19 dashboard indicated that 20,759 new cases have been reported over the last 24 hours. That's nearly 2,500 more cases than the previous high day of 18,350. Even worse, as testing numbers generally have trended upward, the state's positivity rate has skyrocketed. Imagine that. The more people you test, the more positives you're going to get. I mean, hello. More tests usually means a declining positivity rate. Huh? The more people I test, the less? I don't understand. On Thursday, California reported the 18,951. That's second only. Wednesday's number marks the third time in 10 days it breached the previous unimaginable 18,000. The state's 14-day test positivity rate was 7%. That's up 1.8%. The state only had 1,731 out of 7,662 beds available, which puts them at 15%. It actually dropped to 14.9% yesterday on Saturday. So there we go. That's the shutdowns in California, and that's the update where we are now. What do you guys think? What do you think about shutdowns? Do you think they're coming to more states? What states? I can name a few off the top of my head: New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, probably Michigan, Ohio maybe. It's all the predictable states. I mean, all of this is so predictable. Do you see Alabama shutting down? Do you see Mississippi shutting down? Do you see Florida shutting down? Why is it always the same people, the same characters, the same usual suspects shutting things down? Because that's how we rebuild our country, guys. Anyway, so those are 3 news. The shutdowns are happening. California, number 1. Rudy Giuliani tests positive for coronavirus. And the election fraud cases and post-election shenanigans drudges on everywhere from fraud to suits to the Supreme Court, I would imagine, in the next 2 weeks. We'll see what happens, guys. Enjoy the video. Thank you. Hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. Share this. Please share this out on your Instagrams and your Facebooks. Let everyone know what's really going on. These are the facts according to the facts here on New World News. It's December 6, 2020. Have a wonderful night, guys. I'll see you at the start of next week, which is tomorrow. Good night, guys.